Hey everyone, I am so excited about today because I'm having a conversation with one of my favorite people to talk to. Why? Well, first off, she's amazing, but she nerds out on two areas that you probably know I'm pretty passionate about: behavioral science, marketing, but specifically demand generation, aka how to turn likes into leads. We're going to be
Mhm.
talking about the marketing mistakes that are costing your company sales. Today I have with me Sheri Otto. Now she specializes, hello Sheri, in demand generation. She's worked with companies, tech companies like HubSpot, and done some really cool things. In fact, I want you to hear from her what she's done. And today we're going to dive into behavioral science and really turning your entire marketing machine into a machine that generates leads. Sheri, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. So excited to chat with you today.
I'm so excited about this. Can you share with us what is demand generation? You've done a
Yeah.
little bit with HubSpot, other companies. Feel free to share.
Absolutely. So we are in this place where we get to use content to do things, to influence our audience, to build relationships with our community, to feature our products and services. And a lot of times, what I'm finding is that companies all across industries, as well as tech companies, they're cranking out content
Yep.
consistently. They're continuing to put out white papers, social posts. I mean, it's on the list. There's a checklist of content. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, Rachel, like the numbers, it's really difficult for them to attribute how that content is really driving demand. Did this content have influence in how it's going to get people in pipeline, how it's going to get people to become a sales or marketing qualified lead? So those are the areas where I feel like we're missing the boat. We're kind of missing those elements, that middle of the funnel piece, that
Yeah.
influence piece. How can we use content and connect it to revenue and then scale that? So that's something that I'm super passionate about. I've helped tech companies do some of this. I'm going to be doing this on a larger scale soon. I'm so excited to chat with you more about this. So
Mm.
let's do this. Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. So, something you just touched on is like so many companies, not just tech companies, but all companies, all brands, they almost do this like spitball thing. You've seen it, right? They're
Yeah.
just posting and praying. They're throwing content to the wall and hoping something sticks. What is the biggest mistake that you see companies making when they're planning out their content?
Yeah, absolutely. So a company might have a content department,
Yep.
and they're responsible for producing. When I worked at HubSpot, there was a blog department, like the blog people who created blogs. But like, how do we then take that blog and then ask people to go deeper in our business? So I think one of the biggest mistakes that we're making is we're not having a front end strategy that allows us to understand how each piece of content will ask our contacts to go deeper, learn more, or do the 6 jobs to be done. And I'll tell you the 6 jobs, Rachel. It's going to
Please
be,
do.
let
What?
me see if I
I haven't
remember.
even heard this before.
You know, I
This
just
is so cool. Okay.
I put myself on this. They have to discover your product,
Yep.
have to learn about your product, evaluate your product. Number 4, they have to buy your product. Number 5, they have to engage with their product. And number 6, they have to become an advocate of your product. So all those 6 jobs to be done, our content can do that, but we're not having that front end process on helping our contacts do these specific jobs. These content pieces can help them do that, but we're not really setting that up on the front end. That's the biggest mistake that I'm seeing.
Oh my gosh, this right there, that was gold. I mean, it was gold for me. I haven't heard about the 6 jobs. Maybe it's
Mhm.
because I didn't go to college for this. I don't know. That is incredible though.
Yeah.
So here's
Yeah.
something that I absolutely love about every conversation with you, Sheri, is you're always evaluating everything from start to finish. You're
Yeah.
looking at front end, middle, back end. You always look at the entire map out. So when it comes to companies, especially in tech, what is the biggest thing that, or where do you start when it comes
Yeah.
to mapping out the full funnel strategy? And I know that most of
Yeah.
them aren't doing that.
Absolutely, such a good question, and I feel like I mean, that's a tough question, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of nuance to it. Honestly, I really want to encourage all of us to start at really the market. Having a really customer-centric approach is so key. You have value to extend to the world, to extend to your target audience. How do we then like build a path to get your value to the right people? And so when you're thinking about full funnel process, you start with what the need is in the marketplace. how your product or solution connects to that need, and then work backwards with those 6 jobs to be done or with like bottom, middle, and top of the funnel to really start creating those paths to purchase. And it might not all be perfect in the beginning, but you want to just have something to be start with so that you can iterate and tweak along the way. So then it starts with the need. We're really going to move out of like, positioning our business and our mission and our vision. And I don't love using pronouns with me, my, our. It's like really about you,
Yeah.
your, and them. It's really about them. So what do they need from us? We've got this great solution. How do they perceive that? And what are the stories that we can begin telling about this solution all the way from, bottom to top, top to bottom, anywhere in the middle. So those are the things I want to
Mm.
have us think about, that customer-centric approach there.
See, I really like that. And I feel like it naturally would lead to where we're going to nerd out behavioral science and talking about personas. However, I do want to touch on the actual mechanisms.
Yeah.
And I find this to be true in a lot of companies, but especially companies where maybe the offering isn't as juicy or sexy as other
Mhm.
industries. Like healthcare, it's hot. Everyone wants it, right? Like, how do
Yeah.
I lose weight? How do I look better? How do I become gorgeous? But
Yeah.
let's say like a hardware company, a software company, or a tech company that is doing like new emerging something that people don't even understand. What types,
Yeah.
yeah, when should companies use what types of lead magnets? What have you seen?
Okay, absolutely. Very good. So, okay, well, I think part of that question really ties into like what we're doing. We're in this huge AI era, like everyone's
Yes.
creating content. And I think it's really important, whether you're going to do a short form video, whether you're going to do a blog, a
Mhm.
white paper, like I want us to start thinking about the stories that we can tell inside of our content. And the mechanisms really kind of like support the stories. And so I've seen people lean more these days on those thought leadership pieces, which I think is really important because people do business with people, and we need to start having a voice and a presence. And I think the trends right now, everybody, are thought leadership and founder-led motions,
Yep.
getting out there and really sharing your story, why your company exists, why did you start your company? Those are the things that I think are a cool mechanisms to start getting people attracted not only to your business but to your personal brand. And Rachel's amazing at helping all of us with our personal brands. And then another thing is once they become, and you're starting to see them around your marketing ecosystem and they become inside of your environment, then you then can offer another mechanism like a lead magnet, something that is easily consumed,
Mhm.
something that gives high value, and then something that just offers maybe a small win to one of their problems that you can have. And I think that is something that you can think about. And that could be a formula for you, like thought leadership to
Yep.
short form piece of content, like a lead magnet. Yeah.
Every single day, all day, every day. I love this.
Mm.
One of the things you touched on, we were talking earlier before this, before hitting record, we were talking about like personas. And I
Yeah.
think about this a lot too. For example, sometimes people will be like, I don't know why people aren't joining my list. And their product is for like busy moms. And then they have a 2 hour master class. And I'm like, huh. I wonder, could it be because it's a mismatch? Let's talk a little bit about personas because this is fun and we can dive
Yeah.
into the different elements. Like what's your thought or your take
Yeah,
on
that's so
personas?
good. Listen, if you guys are talking to C-suite executives, you know they're not going to have time. If you're talking to the moms that are busy, they're not. Just give them something short and quick. Hey, I know this is your problem. Like if you just do this in 5 minutes, it can help you. So you've got to think about it from that intuitive perspective. If I was this persona, if I'm in the C-suite and I'm an executive and I'm really just numbers driven. So like maybe your content is like a list, like an infographic with a bunch of numbers, because you
Yep.
know that's how their brain works. Oh, you want to learn more? Then you just add a link in there, and then they can maybe listen to your podcast, or they can do something different. Like they're not gonna
Yes.
do a lot. A lot of C-suite executives are listening to the podcast versus necessarily reading all of the emails. So if you're finding that, then kind of just tailor your approach according to what that persona, how that persona
I love
likes to consume information. Yeah. And
it.
the thing is so funny. I posted this on my LinkedIn yesterday. We talked about People like to consume information in different ways. And one of the biggest ways to do that is just ask folks who are coming into your business, hey, how did you learn about our product? How did you learn about our solution? Oh, through a podcast. Okay. And then that's how you tailor your content according to that particular persona.
I love this so much. And by the way, by the time you guys are listening to this, you're going to also have heard our episode about Myers-Briggs and how I use it for everything. Sheri knows this because on one of our first calls, I literally typed her Myers-Briggs. And we get it pretty close within just a couple of questions. But
Yeah.
every single prospective client we talk to, I need to know, like, how do you take in information? How do you make decisions? And we actually tailor our proposals based on the different Myers-Briggs types because it's that important. And something you just said showed subtle brilliance that those listening may or may not have caught, but you said C-suite executives, which is a demographic, and then you said who love taking in the numbers. The numbers are most important. And right there was a psychographic. And so just for everyone listening, how cool is that? Like we've got the C-suite, we know who they are, and then we know what's important to them and their values, which is what's going to drive the bottom line. Oh, it was
It's
just
so
woven
good.
in there
Oh,
so beautifully.
I know. I keep like I love how you repeated that back. I was like, oh, I should write notes on my review of notes. Like this
But
is me.
you know it so deeply that you don't
Yeah.
even have to break it down to that granular level. Does that make sense? It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is behavioral science. And Sheri, I'm going to make you show your notes because I'm actually going to, I don't know, did you get those on Amazon?
I made these.
No.
Can I just tell you?
I, yes,
Emotion. What's that? Curiosity,
choice
choice architect.
architecture.
Oh yeah. And you know about
Oh,
this, like either information guy
yep.
or curiosity guy. I keep these with me because like I rely on them and like it has a breakdown of your human psyche, what to remember, how to do it. And I don't create content without behavioral science. Here's the
Yes.
deal. Like we've got to understand how to influence our audience.
Mhm,
And we're selling to humans. And
mhm.
we need to understand how humans make decisions. And Rachel, you have a beautiful course on this that I took as well. And I recommend this 45-minute training. It's like I was like we can geek out over behavioral science all day long. I feel like if you use behavioral science, especially when you're down funnel, Rachel, like especially when you're trying to get them over the line, you're
Yep.
just trying to like get them like they're on the fence, they're comparing you to another solution, like demand comes in,
Yes.
behavioral science, okay, and you're using that as a part of your strategy, but also actually also with hooks though. I know you know, like we could talk all day.
We could talk all
Yeah,
day.
it's such a cool. I feel like I have a superpower because I know this, and so I love using this and teaching my clients how to incorporate behavioral science when you're trying to influence them to make a decision and make the decision that's favorable for them as well as a conversion for you and your business as well.
I feel like I have a superpower because I know
Yes.
this. It's so true. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people hear like psychology or behavioral science and they instantly check out because they're like, oh, that's not for me. But what would you say to the person who might be thinking that as they're listening to this episode?
Oh, I'm really glad you asked that question because it does sound a little bit geeky, a little bit far-fetched, right? Like behavioral, what is
Right.
behavioral science? Honestly, it's a way to influence your
Mhm.
audience. As Mark, like, it doesn't even matter if you're a marketer. Like, if you are just trying to sell any idea, maybe you're a mom and you're just trying to get your kids to clean their room, like whatever the case may be, like it is a way to influence based on how our brains make decisions. Most of the times we are operating on autopilot. And if we can use these persuasion techniques or
Mhm.
these triggers, these automated triggers, they allow us to tap into and align with the way our brains work. One of the biggest things that I'm trying to do more of, Rachel, is the behavioral science principle of storytelling. And it's really about the emotion that comes into that. Because something really geeky happens when you tell a story. Can I share?
Yeah, please.
So When someone tells a story, there's something that happens with your brain waves. Your brain, and I think this is on your also on your course, but your brain does something called neural coupling. And what happens is your brain waves then sync with those of the storyteller. And so now your actual brain waves are syncing when you hear a story. And when that happens, that is the perfect place to persuade someone. Yeah. So
Which is amazing because all you're doing is basically showing them how you can help fix their pain and problems. It's
absolutely.
incredible.
It is.
Incredible.
I'm going, it's funny because I can share that. I'm going to do more storytelling in my marketing now that we're even talking about it because it's super powerful
Mhm.
and it really helps people connect with you. I think this is going to be more important these days when everyone's punching out content that's AI generated.
Yes.
It's hard to replicate your personal experience, your personal story. So I encourage us to tell your story, and there's ways to do that. A story has a beginning, middle, and end. There's a climax, there's a, like adversity, right? But tell
Mhm.
a story and people will remember you. It's just a really good way to use behavioral science in marketing and sales, go to market. Yeah.
1000% agree with this. I cannot tell you the number of times I would share sometimes my like unhinged stories or my funny stories or the ones that are really embarrassing from a stage. And several years later, people will come up to me and say, I remember when you told that story. And I'm like, wow, otherwise I would have just been another blonde bopping around on the stage, you know?
Wow.
It's
I
so
love that
powerful.
example. Thanks for sharing that example. People
She's
remember that years later. Yeah.
For sure. As you can probably tell, we could nerd out all day, and I'm sure you guys want to know so much more about Sheri. She's incredibly brilliant. I will say it straight up. Couple of places that people can learn more about you from. I know you have two fantastic freebies,
Yeah.
including a funnel fix
Funnel
and a
fix.
behavioral science freebie. I don't even have one of those yet.
Oh, girl, you can get mine, girl.
I'm gonna get it.
Yes, absolutely. Some of the things we mentioned here today about behavioral science, you can plug and play some of these techniques inside of your own marketing to help influence your audience, create those messaging that really compel. And then funnel fix is kind of like we talked about in the beginning, which is really how do we understand what areas are sort of broken or leaking in your funnel? What metrics share that this is not working quite well? Kind of like indicates what needs to be fixed. And then we give you some examples inside there to how to fix those things so they can pick up either one of those resources.
Those are super valuable. Go get those. Do not walk, run. We'll link to those obviously in the bio or notes of this. Sheri, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been incredibly fun, and I could stay here just nerding out all day with you.
Same. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so great. Excited that we were able to talk today for sure.
So fun. We will see you guys later. Bye for now.